Hi, it's Elise here with a whole new teen book spotlight. So our theme for this week, we are taking a look at books that deal with adoption and foster families. Now, these are super important families that don't usually get a lot of coverage in books. And believe it or not, things are kind of starting to change in that. And we have 6 amazing titles that examine what it's like to be adopted, or what it's like to be in a foster family, or what it's like to have someone come into your family, something along those lines. Because family is what we make it. It doesn't have to be what you're born into, it can be what you make it to be. And that's what these books are going to do. So let's get started. Our first one today is called Loser Brackets by Chris Crutcher. So Annie has been in and out of the foster care system, but for the past 8 years, she's 17 now, so for the past 8 years, she's been living with this one family who genuinely cares about her, they love her, and they offer her everything that she could possibly want, dream of, need. The one thing, though, they will not allow is contact with her biological family. So her biological father, he's been absent. No one really knows where he is. Her mother is an avid drug user who's in and out of jail, in and off of drugs. And she has a 19-year-old sister who has her own child who's 5 years old. His name is Frankie. And a lot of times she doesn't even know if she loves him. So Frankie ends up spending a lot of time and almost living with Annie's foster family. So Annie decides, let's try to get everyone together. Maybe that will kind of smooth things over. And the meeting between the two families does not go very well. So she then starts thinking of a new way that maybe she can finally get them together, and maybe being on some neutral ground will make a difference. So Annie's basketball team, they're entering this basketball tournament, and she gets her teammates on board that if they purposely lose their first couple of games, they'll end up in the loser brackets round, which means they'll end up having to play more games, which means they'll be at this tournament even longer. Hopefully her mother and her sister will come out to see her play, and maybe it'll work out. So that's the premise of Loser's Bracket. Our next one is All the Broken Pieces. So it's 1977, and Matt Penn lives a difficult life for a 12-year-old. So this goes back in time, so you gotta think about how life was like in 1977, right after the Vietnam War. And his mother was a Vietnamese woman, his father was an American soldier, so he's half American, half Vietnamese. And when he was younger, before he was 12, he was living in Vietnam, and a bomb came and destroyed a good part of his village, killing his mom and basically mortally wounding, mutilating his younger brother. So because he survived, he was then airlifted to safety and then sent over to the United States, where he was then adopted by a new family. But growing up looking like he does in the time and climate that he's living in, it's really difficult, as many people blame him for their losses in the war and what happened, even though he had nothing to do with it. And then on top of that, he feels all this guilt for leaving his brother behind because he doesn't know what happened to his younger brother. This novel in verse takes a look at a situation that this really did happen. There were kids sent over from Vietnam that were then adopted into American families, and they had to live with these struggles and this guilt and these thoughts about them, and it changed everyone's lives involved. So this story will leave you thinking and wondering about events in the past and how we can learn from them going forward, as well as how we treat one another. This is All the Broken Pieces. How to Save a Life. So 17-year-old Jill is having a really hard time with the death of her father. He recently passed away. She's kind of really distanced herself from her friends, her boyfriends, even her mother. And then all of a sudden, out of the blue, Jill can only think to kind of cope with the loss that her mother is dealing with. Her mother announces that she's going to adopt a baby, and Jill loses it. She doesn't understand why this is happening. Plus, she's 17 and her mother's going to adopt a baby. So not only is she going to adopt a baby, her mother has agreed that the birth mom can come in and live with them until she gives birth. So instantly furious, wants nothing to do with it. The birth mother arrives, her name is Mandy, and she has her own secrets and why she's doing this. And she's running away from her own issues. And Jill can't help but wonder, what exactly are these issues and these secrets that Mandy is holding? And she decides she wants to uncover them. She wants to figure out what this real situation is and what she really wants out of this. This is told through both the points of view of Jill and Mandy, and you will come to figure out their perspectives, and you would find yourself wondering what you would do if you were in either of their situations. And you will not be able to put this one down, and it will leave you thinking about it beyond the final page. This is How to Save a Life. Somebody's daughter. So Sarah, who is now 19, she was born in Korea, but she was raised in Minneapolis, and she was adopted by this couple that was from America when she was a baby. But Sarah has always struggled with the fact that she has two moms. She has the mom who's adopted her, but she's also had the mom who gave her up, gave her away. So trying to figure out who she is and like put an end to this internal struggle, she decides that she's going to leave college and she's going to enroll in this year-long exchange program taking place at a university in South Korea. And hopefully there she'll learn the language, she'll learn the culture, and she'll start to discover her roots and who she is, and maybe even find her birth mother. So when a local news station finds out about her story and they do these segments specializing in featuring missing persons, they decide they want to take on Sarah's story. And she sits down, she gives this interview, and before she knows it, this woman comes forward claiming to be her birth mom. And it's going to be up to the DNA test to prove for sure. So both Sarah's story and the birth mother story is integrated. They're told through this story, and you will find yourself wondering how this all comes together. And you will learn about this one person's journey to find out who they are and what their history is. This is Somebody's Daughter. What I Carry. So Muriel has only ever known being in foster care. When she was a baby, she was left at a hospital, and she's going on 17 now, and she's been through her fair share of homes, and she knows the rules. She knows not to get attached. She knows to keep her head down. She knows to only pack what she can carry. She's never really made friends. She always does her best to keep her grades up, which she does, and she's always held everyone at arm's length, not wanting to get close to anyone, because she might have to leave, or they might end up hurting her or disappointing her, and she just can't deal with that. So it is when she gets to her final home, though, that all of that starts to get challenged. Her new foster mother, Francine, she's smart, she's kind, she's socially aware, she's patient. And then there's Kira, who goes to school with her, who could potentially become a best friend. She's best friend material. And then there's Sean, who can't help but being drawn to him, and on so many different levels. And as she gets closer to 18, though, which is the age that she gets aged out of foster care. As soon as she turns 18, she's out of the system. Muriel has to decide for herself what she wants. Does she want to let people in her life, or does she always want to solely depend upon herself? This is What I Carry. And our last one for today is the how and the why. So the whole time she's grown up, Cassandra has known that she's been adopted by her incredibly loving parents. Turning 18, though, she decides she wants to figure out who her birth parents are. She wants to know the how and the why. So she sets off on this journey, but she starts running into these multiple dead ends, and she starts to wonder if she'll ever know the truth. Interspersed throughout this story, though, there are these letters that were written by Cassandra's birth mother to her as an unborn child. And as you start to read these letters, you start to get a clear picture of the events that led up to and why she made the decision to give her child up for adoption. Cassandra's friends and families are truly supportive, and they're realistic, and you as the reader will be along with this journey with Cassandra as she tries to figure out the how and the why of how she became adopted into this truly amazing family. This is the how and the why. So these are 6 of the books that we have here at the library that deal with adoption and foster families. So I encourage you to come on out, check out one of them, read about a different family, or maybe you finally are finding something that you can read yourself in, which is truly amazing. So I encourage you to come out, check out one of them, or we can help you find another book that that talks about adoption and foster families right here at the library. So I hope you have an amazing week, and I hope you tune back next week when we have a whole new teen book spotlight.